So I just wanted to make a quick video. I got invited probably about 3-4 weeks ago to a Tudor event at my local authorised dealer, which is Fraser Hart. I know they operate in the UK, maybe wider than that as well. I bought 3-4 watches from in the past, so nothing crazy. And I just wanted to kind of see what it would be like. I've not been to an event like that before. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit apprehensive. I'm a really talkative guy. I do lots of car events and car meets, but it's quite different, I think, going to the AD for something like this. You were able to invite some friends. I did try to invite at least one other mate, but unfortunately they were all busy. And these were people that were interested in watches, obviously, not just some like random mate who were like, why do I want to come and look at watches with you? I've got no interest in that at all. So just to clear that up. And yeah, I just want to kind of go through what I tried on, what my experience was, what it was like in the AD. So let's get into it. So you kind of turn up, and I think like all these other events you've seen on YouTube, there's kind of beer, there's champagne, there's water, all the staff have obviously stayed on extra. So to greet you, there's canapes, and you can see pretty much whatever you want, not just Tudor, the whole store's open. So if you want to look at jewellery or other brands they've got, they were obviously open to doing that because they just want sales. But it was very welcoming, and it was nice. It was good to walk in. So I chose to wear my Zenith. I don't have a Tudor at the moment, so I thought I'd wear something a little bit different, maybe that some people, if I bumped into them, hadn't seen. I would get an opportunity to look at, and that was the case in the end. So I kind of sat down by myself initially, and then a guy noticed the Zenith. And I went over, had a chat with him, sat down with him, and it turned out he was with a group of about 8 different people who had their own WhatsApp, who all buy watches, and they buy watches from, 200-300 quid micro brands all the way up to 30 grand, 40 grand APs, Patek Philippe's and Parmigiani Floriers, which we'll come on to in a moment. And that made the evening a lot more enjoyable for me. Sitting down, talking to a new group of guys who are all really interested in watches, who have a deep understanding about watches, like people that watch this channel and other watch content would have. It goes far deeper than just the brand or the look or the aesthetic of the watch. It goes into kind of dimensions, the movement manufacture, the history, all that type of really good stuff. So they're all familiar with like Formex, with Zelos, or Zelos, depending on how you should be pronouncing it. So you were able to have really good conversations with them. Now, if I'd brought a friend with me, the likelihood is that wouldn't have happened. He would have said, nice watch, I would have gone, thank you, and I probably would have stayed talking to my friend. So actually going by myself, I think, forced me to sit down with those guys, or at least encouraged me to sit down with those guys and have a proper conversation. So from an experience point of view, I would do it again. I wasn't actually going to buy anything. There are a few watches I wanted to look at, but I had no intention of buying anything. What was really interesting is they were offering discounts, which apparently people say they don't do. I'm not going to shoot myself in the foot and say what kind of discounts on what watches, but it was the older line watches, not the brand new watches, obviously, but discounts they were offering were pretty good. So yeah, I would still push for discounts if you're going to buy a Tudor. You may not get one, but it could definitely not hurt to ask. But obviously don't ask on the latest, hard to get models, ask on models that are in the window and that are readily available, and you never know, you might actually get a discount on it. I'll put pictures of the watches I tried on, that I took pictures of as I go through this. And there are some surprising ones in there. So I tried on the Pelagos Ultra. I knew what the Pelagos would be like. I already had a 42, I had the 39. It's not for me. It's just too big. It's just too big for me. And the interesting thing is one of the guys, there were 2 guys in there, bought one while we were there. And one of the guys had a tiny wrist by comparison to mine. It must have been 6.5 inches, mine 6 inches, and he bought the Ultra. So it again shows that it is just down to personal taste. Okay, what do you like? What don't you like? It wears fine. It's titanium. It's nice. It's light. I don't know what it offers over the standard 42. I know it's got a better depth rating. I think it's 1,000 meters as opposed to 300 meters. Sorry, but it's it's just bigger. It's just unnecessary. I don't understand what they're doing with it. I know some people like bigger watches, but when you've got a 42, does a 43 make a difference? And then the extra thickness, doesn't that just kind of make it that bit more unusable? The blue text on it was nice, and there's a little blue bit on the clasp, one of the holes where you adjust, micro adjust. But yeah, I don't get it. I don't get the need for it. The 39 I get because a lot of people wouldn't like the 42 because it was too big, and the 39 is a bit dressier. I still kind of regret selling mine. I might still buy another one. I did say if they bring out a blue, to the person that looks after me, please, give me a call, put one aside, because I definitely want that in blue. But anyway, Pelagos Ultra, not really my cup of tea. The Black Bay 68, again, not my cup of tea. I like what they've done with it. I like the fact it's thin. I think it's like 13.5mm thick or something. Same as the 41. I like the bracelet on it. I really like the bracelet on it. It's the no fake rivet, gradual taper, so not a step taper with the T-fit. So it's the perfect modern bracelet for me for a Tudor. And they haven't released this bracelet since the original Smileys. Why Tudor can't offer the 5-link, the fake rivet, and the smooth taper, no fake rivet bracelets on all their Black Bays, I don't know. If they did that on the Black Bay 58 blue, I'd go and buy another. That would be pretty much my perfect watch. If you take the burgundy, which I'll just put a picture up of, and the extra knurling on the crown and the extra knurling on the bezel, and then you add that modern bracelet to it, I'm not a big fan of the 5-link Jubilee. I think it's just a bit too blingy for me. For how my taste is at the moment. That might change in the future, but I don't like polished center links. And while it was extremely comfortable and it looked nice, I would rather it was brushed. So yeah, why they can't offer that across the range is beyond me. But the 68, sorry, it was a nice enough watch, quite heavy, quite big, 43mm. I get the appeal of that. They don't have a 42, so now they've got what, like a 37, 39, a 41 and a 43. And it's a lot more wearable than the Pelagos Ultra. I think it's thinner, and it looks a bit smaller on the wrist, and that'll obviously be due to the dimensions of it. But a nice looking watch, nice colourways. I particularly like the blue dial black bezel. But yeah, why can't I offer that bracelet on the other Black Bays? Also, it comes back to, again, why don't Tudor offer quick release strap changing systems? If you're offering these watches like the Pelagos with multiple straps that come in the box, make it easy for non-enthusiasts without the tools to change them. I don't get it. There's a few really small things I think Tudor should do, but I think there are obviously reasons why they don't. Anyway, moving on, the Black Bay Burgundy. I like this a lot. Even in the picture, it looks blingier than it did, but I was in the shop, not in the sunlight, so I'd imagine in the sunlight it is quite bright. Again, I'm not a big fan of the bracelet, the 5-link bracelet. I did try on the Black Bay 41, don't have a picture of that. The monochrome with the 5-link as well, and it's just not my cup of tea. Again, don't like the polished center links on it, and it's just a bit too blingy for me. But the red really surprised me. It was really, really nice. I didn't think I'd like the red at all. If I had spare cash slushing around, I didn't mind losing $1.5 or something just to own it for a year or two. I'd probably do it. But I didn't like it enough to kind of pull the trigger, even with any discount they might or might not have offered. I didn't even ask. I didn't want to ask if I wasn't willing to buy. But it was a nicer watch than I expected. And the biggest surprise for me was the Black Bay 54 Blue, or the Blue Lagoon, I think people call it. Maybe that is what it's called, I'm not sure. But it was really, really nice. It didn't wear like a 37, it wore more like a 38, 39 to me. I would have worn that. I'm not known it was a 37, and everyone in the group kind of commented it doesn't wear like a 37. I'm not quite sure why that is. But it wears bigger than the dimensions suggest. I know the cases are a bit longer on those in comparison to what the dial dimensions are. They're not wildly smaller, or they're very, very similar dimensions lug to lug as the 58, and I think that's a big reason as to why it wears bigger than the 37mm suggests. But the bezel, I thought that would really put me off, being really shiny, high polish. But you can't really notice it. I'm sure in some lights you can. Again, I was in the AD, but it looked really good. The dial was amazing. I've never seen a Tudor dial like that. You've got flecks of different colours in the Black Bay ranges. So in the original 58, you've got like gold flecks and stuff like that. But the dial on this was really cool. It was a really, really nice colour. You wouldn't wear it all the time. It was quite blingy, but it was a cool watch and it really surprised me. So they're the Tudors I tried on, and they were open. The staff were open to getting out any watch they had on display, obviously, because they just want to sell them, right? And then the other guys' watches. So a Doxa, I've been really interested in Doxa, but I thought the clasps would be pants. If I'm being honest, I thought the clasps, they don't look great, I don't think, on their website. They look a bit cheap, but it was really good. The micro just looks a bit ugly when it's in use because it's just a blank piece of steel that comes out, but it's got a really nice ratcheting system. It's very easy to do. You can easily do it without taking it off your wrist. You just press it in and open it, and then it goes in by itself. It just ratchets in. And it felt really well made, I've got to be honest. The beads and brass bracelet was nice. The dial was nice. It wore really well. It was a good size. When I eventually go into London, if I can try some more Doxas, I might get one. It was a surprise. It'd be a nice holiday watch, I think, where you kind of wear it, don't worry about it as much as your nicer watches, and you can do everything with it, right? Would you wear it to dinner? I don't know about that, but you can bash it about and stuff, and it's not hugely expensive. So a Doxa really surprised me, liked it a lot. The clasp I thought would be the thing that would put me off, but actually I thought it was a nice touch. I did look at a guy's Grand Seiko. Give me 1 second, I'm going to look down. It was an SLGH013, so it was a snowscape. Again, nice watches. I like Grand Seikos. They're just a bit too dressy for me. Even their sports watches are a bit dressy for me, or they're a bit too chunky or anything like that. They need a sports watch in the dimensions of the dress watches, and then I'd be really interested. But it was a cool watch. Like with all Grand Seikos, the dial was pretty cool. I'd recommend just going to look it up if you're thinking about a Grand Seiko, just to have a look at it. I think they call it the Snowscape or something like that. But yeah, that was pretty cool. And then the guy that noticed my Zenith had a Parmigiani Florier GMT. That was a cool watch. You don't see those, you won't see those very often at all. The GMT function was really cool on it. It looked really nice, very dressy. Probably not for me in terms of buying it. I thought it would be one I'd be really interested in, having seen a number of reviews. But actually having it in hand is probably a bit too dressy for my taste at the moment anyway. And interestingly, people always talk about you shouldn't have any issues with expensive watches. And when I put the issues I've had with my Tudors and my Zenith, etc. in the chat on YouTube, people are like, oh, it shouldn't be like this. Why is that? It's too expensive. It shouldn't, or it's so expensive, it shouldn't have any issues. With this Parmigiani Florier, £27,000 watch, the GMT button fell off within a week or two of having it. And just like with Zenith, they were fantastic customer support, and they made him a brand new watch. And within 2 weeks, he had a brand new watch. They didn't take it back and try and fix it and then give it back to him and have the customer experience be you don't have your brand new £27,000 watch for like 6 weeks to 2 months or maybe even longer. They just made him a new watch and sent it across to him and then took his old one back. So again, at any price point, these things happen. They're mechanical pieces that are generally put together by people. But in summary, I would advise going, even if you're by yourself. I was a bit apprehensive, and like I say, I'm quite an outgoing guy, but I'm really glad I went, and I would go again, but probably if there was something I was actually looking at buying. But it was cool just to go and meet them. They did have a WhatsApp group. I thought about asking to be on it, and I think we were kind of getting to that point, but they didn't do many meets. The group just kind of talked on WhatsApp, and I've got enough WhatsApp groups in my life. So yeah, if you get an opportunity to go to one of these style of events, I thoroughly recommend it. It's a good time. As always, if you have any questions, please just let me know.